In a quiet village nestled in the rolling hills of Tuscany, a child was born who would one day change the world. It was April 15, 1452, in the town of Vinci, and the boy's name was Leonardo. His father, Ser Piero, was a respected notary, and his mother, Caterina, was a peasant woman. He was not born into wealth or nobility, nor was he given the formal education of the scholars of Florence. But from the moment he could walk, Leonardo was different. He spent his childhood wandering the countryside, watching birds take flight, sketching plants and animals, and studying the way water carved its path through the land. Everything fascinated him, every shadow, every sound, every motion. The world was his greatest teacher, and curiosity became his greatest gift. The making of a genius. When Leonardo turned 14, his father recognized his extraordinary talent and sent him to train in the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio, one of Florence's finest artists. Here, Leonardo learned to paint, sculpt, and design. He studied not only the strokes of a brush, but also the mechanics of machines, the proportions of the human body, and the physics of light and shadow. One day, Verrocchio assigned him to paint a small angel in the background of his masterpiece, the Baptism of Christ. But when the painting was complete, something astonishing happened. Leonardo's angel looked more alive than anything else on the canvas. Legend has it that Verrocchio, seeing the genius of his pupil, put down his brush and never painted again. The dreamer of impossible things, though Florence loved him, Leonardo was restless. He wanted more than art. He wanted to build, to invent, to understand the world itself. In 1482, he moved to Milan, offering his services to the Duke, not just as a painter but as an engineer, inventor, and architect. It was in Milan that his notebooks began to fill with ideas centuries ahead of their time, designs for machines that would not be built for hundreds of years. A flying machine inspired by birds, an armored vehicle, the ancestor of modern tanks, a robot, capable of moving on its own, a giant crossbow, designed for wall bridges and waterways, carefully designed to withstand time. But amid his endless designs, Leonardo painted one of his greatest masterpieces, The Last Supper. On the walls of a monastery, he captured a single moment in time, the instant Jesus told his disciples that one of them would betray him. Their faces were filled with emotion, shock, sadness, anger, disbelief. Never before had a painting breathed with such life. And yet, Leonardo was never satisfied. His mind was always moving forward, onto the next mystery. The search for perfection. In 1503, Leonardo returned to Florence, where he began work on a painting that would become the most famous in history, Mona Lisa. It was a simple portrait of a woman, yet there was something different about her. Her smile was both joyful and sad, her eyes seemed to follow the viewer, her expression full of secrets. He carried the painting with him for years, always refining, always perfecting. But Leonardo was not only an artist, he was a scientist. At night, he would sneak into hospitals and morgues, dissecting human bodies in secret, sketching muscles, veins, and bones with astonishing accuracy. He was mapping the human body centuries before doctors would fully understand it. His discoveries would one day help modern medicine, though he never lived to see it. A legacy beyond time. In his later years, King Francis I of France, a great admirer of Leonardo, invited him to live in his castle. The king did not want him to paint, he simply wanted to listen to his ideas, to hear the thoughts of the greatest mind in history. Leonardo spent his final years at the Château du Clos-Lucé, filling his notebooks with inventions that would not be built for centuries: helicopters, diving suits, and even machines that looked like modern automobiles. But time was catching up with him. On May 2, 1519, Leonardo da Vinci passed away at the age of 67. Some say that King Francis, heartbroken, held his hand as he took his last breath. The man who saw the future. Leonardo was gone, but his ideas were not. His anatomical studies helped shape modern medicine. His designs inspired modern helicopters, tanks, and robots. His understanding of light and shadow influenced generations of artists. His belief that art and science were one and the same still guides thinkers today. Every time we study the stars, fly in a plane, use a machine, or admire a painting, we are following in Leonardo's footsteps. He was not just a man of the Renaissance. He was a man of the future. And perhaps, in some ways, he is still with us today.